I don't know if it's a good sign or a bad sign when I show up approximately on time and there's already several people here. Does that mean that your Sundays are over? Like your main slates are just not in the vicinity of cashing, making a lot of money here? Good to see all you here, though. Happy to have you already in chat, chatting away. We're going to be doing the usual breakdown here for Sunday Night Football. This is Chiefs and no, this is Lions at Chiefs. We're going to be going quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, defenses, and kickers, going position by position. At the end, I will be running the Sims, taking some questions. Actually, I might run the Sims a little bit earlier today than usual, not waiting until the end, just to make sure I can get it in. I think it'll be a little bit more efficient if I run the first set of Sims before we get there. Dirty says Flacco isn't losing this game. Do they still have the ball? I just saw that he threw a touchdown to Jamar Chase. Awesome catch by Jamar Chase. That was really cool. My hope as somebody who has a lot of Josh Jacobs today is that Packers get the ball, Jacobs gets 50 more yards, gets the 100-yard bonus. So far, though, every time Jacobs has done anything, haven't really seen my money going up because he's so chalky. Even though I'm still 15% above the field, not enough to actually make an impact there. So kind of a bummer on that front. Jacobs not really carrying me anywhere. Down day for me overall. Even though I felt like I got a lot of stuff right, but ultimately nothing coming together today. Hopefully, some of you had better days than I did on the main slate. Let's get into the Sunday Night Football slate. I did not see Chiefs inactives. We did not get Khalif Raymond out for the Lions. That's the one that I was looking out for. He was questionable coming in. I thought we might get Khalif Raymond out. I had not seen Chiefs inactives before I came in here. So let me look that up real quick before we get into position by position. Okay, Jared Wiley, Elijah Mitchell. All right, nobody unexpected for the Chiefs is inactive. Cool. We'll start with quarterbacks. And again, starting here with, Anthony said it. Please do like the video. If you haven't already liked the video, that is very helpful to me. I am trying to grow the channel. So if you could like the video, and of course, if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe to the Flannelverse. Could use your support. Charles, we got the Raymond news. Raymond is active. He was not on the inactives list. So Khalif Raymond will be playing. I was hopeful that we were going to get Khalif Raymond out and potentially get some Isaac Tesla today. Doesn't look like we're going to have the big Isaac. I mean, we can still play Tesla, but we're not going to have extra usage for Tesla today. Yes, I did forget to set the rule. Maybe I can. I wonder if I can still. I probably can't do it when it's live. Apologies to everybody that I did not set a rule that you need to be a subscriber for 10 to 20 minutes before you can comment. So we're going to have to deal with some spam, but we'll get through it. Jared Goff, 9,600 projected for 56% flex ownership, 7% captain ownership. I suspect I will be a bit underweight on Goff. These are actually a bit lower, I think, than I've seen elsewhere for Goff's projected ownership. I still think I'm going to end up a little bit underweight here. We have some really great pay up options, particularly on the Lions that I think I like better than Goff. So ultimately, I think I'll have under 60% Goff just because you can only play so many of the super expensive guys. I don't think I'm going to be much. Like I bet I'll still be around 50% Goff. So don't take it the wrong way that I'm like full fading Goff or anything like that. But because I like so much of the other stuff going on here with the Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And then, of course, you have Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy. We've got some strong options here. So with Goff coming in as fairly chalky, not really running much, I'm going to end up a little bit underweight on Goff here. When I do play Goff, I will always be stacking him. When I have him in the captain spot, I shouldn't say I will be because I'm using the Sims here. So I'm going to let the Sims do their thing. If I were using an optimizer, the rule that I would set is always stack Goff with the pass catcher. You can include the running backs there, particularly Jahmyr Gibbs, but you actually can include David Montgomery, I think, also as the solo pass catcher with him. But generally, if I have Goff at captain, I do want to have multiple pass catchers from the Lions. He's fairly expensive, and he's averaging 1.8 rushing yards per game this season with 0 rushing touchdowns. Just doesn't run enough that he's really viable without stacking him. So yeah, I want to be stacking Jared Goff. I think I'll end up a little bit underweight to the field here. Looking at schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed, it is a not amazing matchup here. Let me pull up my notes. What is the actual number here for Goff? 13th fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Lions rank 26th in pass rate over expectation. So they like to run the ball, and they're facing a tough Sorry, wait, ninth most. Ninth most? No, 13th fewest. I'm all mixed up here. 13th fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game to quarterbacks. Uh, Patrick Mahomes, I like a bit better than Goff. He is getting more ownership, 51% flex ownership, 28% captain ownership. So again, even though I like Mahomes a bit better, I don't actually think I get to 79%. I think I'd like to be a little bit underweight here because again, there are just other pay ups that I also like. So I'll probably get to more than Goff, 60 to 70% Mahomes is probably where I want to be. Is a strong play. And I think you can play him without stacking him up. He has been running a bit more this year. He's going to face a Lions defense that has allowed the 13th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. The Chiefs lead the NFL in pass rate over expectation. So all of these things look pretty good for Mahomes. So you'll pull up pass rate over expectation report. Double check my work. Yeah, still leading the league in pass rate over expectation. And he has been running a bit this year so far on the season, averaging, I want to say 38. Yeah, 38 rushing yards per game. Already has 3 rushing touchdowns as well. So I think you can play Mahomes unstacked. I think generally, though, when I have him in the captain spot, I would prefer to have Mahomes stacked up. Dropping Dime says he ran the Sims and got 68% Goff. So yeah, so if I don't do anything, and honestly, I make all these changes to the Sims. And I don't think you really need to. So I want to be clear, like you don't need to be making all of the tweaks that I do here. Generally, if you just follow what the Sims are giving you over time, it's probably a good idea. Like they're putting a lot of time into the inputs here. I change things to get to the lineups that I like after looking at the slate for a while. And sometimes I think that it is like you should actually be making changes because maybe they are going to get some things wrong, or maybe you have an angle that that you think what they're doing could be wrong. Even if you're not confident in it, you might think, maybe they're going to make this switch to this running back over that running back. I probably make more tweaks than you should, making changes that I don't even actually believe is like indicative of what I think is going to happen in the game, just because I want to get to more or less of a player. But yeah, if you run the Sims and you get 68% off, like I have no issue with that. I'm probably going to make changes to get to less because I've done 3 pieces of content on this slate already, and I've already said that I'm going to be fading Goff. And at this point, I'm just trying to follow like what my instincts are here. But if I had not already done some content on it and I were just kind of running the Sims, I would want to make sure, like, do I actually believe the changes that I'm making here? Anyway, so Patrick Mahomes looks good. I think I'll probably end up under 79%. I'm pretty sure I'll limit myself to under 28% at captain for Mahomes because there are other captains that I like as well. But I do think that he like if he ends up as my highest owned captain, I would be okay with that. I think Mahomes is a strong one, and especially because he's running a bit and he spreads the ball around. You don't necessarily need to be stacking him up. Most of the time, we'll want to have at least one pass catcher with him. I think that's enough on quarterbacks. It's usually the position that goes the quickest. So let's move on to running backs, which is sort of a fascinating one here because you've got, so on the Detroit side, Jahmyr Gibbs projected for 38% flex ownership, 17% captain ownership. David Montgomery is 4,000 cheaper, projecting for 21% flex ownership, 1% captain ownership. I've actually seen it even lower elsewhere. And I like it. I want to have over the field on Montgomery in particular, 21% less so. Like I'm not as like gung ho about it. I believe his ownership is lower elsewhere. What does RotoGrinders have it at? Oh, they do have it 5% captain. Looks like 10%. Yeah, so they have a 10% in the. I'm on FanDuel. This is okay. I'm all off here. Let me change that. Where are we? Over here. Anything happening in the Packers game? My hope is that the Packers lose the game because I did 4 entries or 5 entries in Survivors and picked the Packers a few weeks ago and they lost in that one. I picked them again with my 1 remaining Survivor. So I want to believe that I can impact the Packers win-loss record. And then next year I'll just pick them every week. I'll make sure I do as many entries as I can to last as long as I can to always have at least one that's the Packers. Okay. David Montgomery, 13.55% flex ownership here. 4.5% captain ownership. So they have him a little bit lower. It's not actually like that drastic of a difference, but I think he's okay at 21. I probably want over the field here. He does still have a pretty strong role on the season, 61 carries in 5 games. So getting 12, just over 12 carries per game. I guess only just over 1 target per game. So not like that amazing of a role. But still, I think could have more work than he's getting now. Like right now, it's a pretty even split. Clearly has contingent upside if anything were to happen to Gibbs also, and just has the ability to score touchdowns. It is what's the matchup here? Pretty good matchup for running backs against this Kansas City defense. So far on the season, Kansas City ranks that they've allowed the 9th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to running backs. The ownership has come up enough that less of a priority for me than he was this morning when he was looking really low. RotoGrinding has him at 10%, which is a number that I would very much like to get above weight on, but at 21%, it's kind of a different story for me on Montgomery. Like I still like it's fine, but I think I have to go back on what I was saying. Like I don't really think I need to get over 22% projected ownership to Montgomery when he's getting 12 carries per game. I think like he could spike to more there. Like they do like Montgomery. There are going to be games where he gets more work, but they just had the game where he was home in Cincinnati, had him throw a touchdown, score a touchdown. I don't think they're going to be doing that every single game. So I think he's fine, but actually if he does come in at 22%, not really going to be a huge priority for me. Jahmyr Gibbs still will be a priority, 38% flex, 17% captain ownership. Again, one of the reasons that I think I'm going to be a little bit light on Jared Goff is I do really like Jahmyr Gibbs as a play. I mean, just awesome workload here, 14 carries per game so far on the season. He has just under 5 targets per game on the season, 54% route participation. The workload looks pretty great for Gibbs. Also has contingent upside if anything were to happen to Montgomery. You just see Gibbs take over at the backfield. So standalone role. And I mean, obviously within game, you're not really expecting the contingent upside to kick in all that frequently, but it's a little bit of a bonus there. But regardless, just has a great role in a pretty strong matchup here. He's getting ownership, but I think that it is warranted. I think I might, if he ended up being my highest owned captain, I would also be okay with that. I don't think you need to get to any Craig Reynolds or Jacob Saylors. I don't really think there is a great reason to do so. Let's see, Craig Reynolds on the season. He's played 4 games, 3 carries, 0 targets. Jacob Saylors, UFL MVP. Great running back, but don't think he has a workload you need to get there. So I think we can just stick to the big two here. I mean, if one of them got hurt, I suppose maybe you'd see some Craig Reynolds, but Craig Reynolds. But I don't think that it's a priority here. Maybe just a 150 set kind of play. Kansas City side, also pretty interesting here. I'm going to bring up the bell cow report, split it up multiple ways. Let's go. We've got the full season for the Chiefs. Looking at expected fantasy points, it's 38 for Pacheco, 38 for Kareem Hunt, 18 for the rookie Brashard Smith. If we look at just the last 3 weeks, let's take a look at that. In terms of expected fantasy points, it's 27 for Kareem Hunt, 23 for Pacheco, 16 for Brashard Smith. So a little bit closer there. The rookie kind of gaining ground there. We just did a Chiefs showdown slate. So you have already heard like all the coach speak. I just read it off in that last Chiefs showdown slate where I really liked Brashard Smith because all of the coach speak was like, here are all the reasons we're giving Brashard Smith more work. We think he's earned it. We're going to keep giving him more and more work. And then they did not give him more work in that game. It kind of felt like they did to me. But then ultimately you look at the workload in week 5, and it was 7 carries each for Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, just 1 for Brashard Smith. He did have 3 targets on just 9% route participation. Pacheco also saw 3 targets on 39% route participation. Pacheco played 39 snaps, so he actually had more snaps than Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith combined. And sounded like that was kind of intentional, that they really liked what he was doing. I'll read off the quote from Andy Reid is a quick one. So on the 8th, Andy Reid said, I thought Isaiah Pacheco did a good job running and catching and blocking on Monday night. He got a little bit more playing time, which I think is good. Kind of get him into the swing of things, and that helped. At the same time, Kareem had a good day. So make of that what you will. I think my general takeaway there is he was he was happy to be getting more playing time to Isaiah Pacheco. Sounded like maybe he's hoping to build some momentum there, is sort of how I read that quote. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this backfield. Again, I thought all of the coach speak sort of indicated that Brashard Smith was going to be used more and more. And he ended up getting 1 carry and 3 targets. I will say, like, that is sort of the Jerick McKinnon role. Like, that was something we talked about a lot in the offseason, was that he was maybe going to have the Jerick McKinnon role. And there was some hope. I know some people who were excited about him enough that they thought he could take on like a bell cow role, like not just the Jerick McKinnon role, but more recently, it doesn't seem like that is very likely that he's going to take on like a big carrying role. They don't seem to trust him carrying the ball. They trust him more in a pass catching role, but I still think that is pretty valuable for Brashard Smith if he can get that role. Ultimately, I think my favorites. So if we look at the ownership and the price tags for the running backs here, I would say Isaiah Pacheco is my favorite. He's 4,000, 26% flex ownership, 1% cap ownership. And I think this is, by the way, this is the exact opposite of what I said prior to week 5. So I got it pretty wrong in that game. But I think just based on what we saw in that game and then the coach speak following it, I think it sounds like they still want Isaiah Pacheco to be the guy. And he's cheaper than Kareem Hunt. Now, the game prior to that, they were giving Kareem Hunt goal line carries. I don't have a great read on this backfield, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. I think all of them look pretty good. I think the price tags are low enough that all are certainly viable. Pacheco is getting the most ownership, but at 4,000, I think he is the most likely to pay it off in a big way, like where he actually puts up, over 15 fantasy points and you like need him in your lineups to be near the top of the leaderboard. So I think Pacheco is probably my favorite of the group. Kareem Hunt is okay. Again, it wouldn't be that surprising if he comes back and takes more of this workload. They have been they played it close to the chest in terms of what they want to do with the backfield. I'm not that confident that it's going to be Pacheco getting more work again. But again, that is what happened in the last game. That was our expectation coming into the year. It's not like Kareem Hunt has been amazing. Let's take a look at the advanced rushing stats actually just for a second. And part of the reason that I really liked Brashard Smith last week was I thought, the running backs in front of him are not doing that well. Why wouldn't you try to get this rookie running back going? Kareem Hunt under 4 yards per carry. Not the yards per carry is the best metric, but kind of an indicator of how they're looking. They have given Kareem Hunt 83.3% of the inside the 5 carries. So I guess that's worth something to Pacheco and Smith. Neither of them has gotten anything. Smith did get at least he got something. Maybe it was a target within 5 yards last week. I'm fairly certain he had something close to the goal line there. Missed tackles forced, 4 for Hunt, 5 for Pacheco, 1 for Brashard Smith, all about the same in terms of missed tackles forced per attempt. Kareem Hunt trailing slightly there, yards after contact per attempt, Pacheco leading there. I don't know. None of them have been amazing so far this year. I wouldn't say I have a great read on it, but I think Pacheco is, just based on the coach speak and the usage last week. Sorry, there's like a gnat in my office. Pacheco is my favorite there. Hunt and I don't know who I would say is my favorite between Hunt and Brashard Smith, because I do like Brashard Smith at he's a lower price tag and lower ownership. And again, I still think that it is plausible that he has that Jerick McKinnon role, and they could use him in ways where they're getting him short carries in the red zone, where they're using him in unique ways where he's doing end arounds, that kind of stuff, or just getting targeted in the end zone as the red zone running back. Like, I think that is in his future at some point for Brashard Smith, and I think it might start sooner rather than later. So at 3,000, I do like Brashard Smith. I'll probably have maybe I'll have about the same Brashard Smith and Kareem Hunt ultimately. So I'd say Pacheco my favorite. Brashard Smith getting less ownership. I think I end up with about the same of Brashard Smith and Kareem Hunt. Maybe I'm wishcasting here that Brashard Smith is going to have a bigger role, but at the very least, he is involved in the passing game. Kareem Hunt maybe more likely to get maybe the likeliest of these three. I mean, just looking at it, he has 83% inside the 5, probably the likeliest to actually get the goal line opportunities. I don't know. This is such a gross committee. Play whoever you want, as my friend Blenderhead would say. But I think I'm going to have the most of Pacheco, followed by about the same amount of Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith. I think is how I'm going to be. But I think all of them are like fairly strong mid-range plays. None of them are big fades for me. And then I'm not playing. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell is inactive, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I wish I had more clarity on the situation, but I still think that I guess my takeaway here is I think it's kind of like you can see positives for all three of them. I still I'm not writing off Brashard Smith, even though it doesn't seem like they trust him in the running game. It seems like they only really trust him in the passing game, because that is sort of more similar to Jerick McKinnon, who did have like a lot of fantasy spike weeks. So I'm not writing him off because of his lack of involvement in the last game. I still think like the coach speak being positive is a net like, okay, I'm glad that the coaches seem to like him. They want to get him more involved. They didn't really in the last game all that much, but he did see 3 targets. Like it seems like every time he ran a route, they were targeting him. So I don't think he's going to like suddenly take on the majority of the work here, but I do think he could play kind of a role where he's getting touches when he's on the field. All right, wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Might be my favorite play on the slate. He's like my favorite like captain spend up option here. 30% flex ownership, 16% captain ownership, 10,800. So he is expensive, but ultimately I think he is well worth the price tag. I think one of the first captains I would play, maybe if I were just playing one lineup, it would be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goes into the captain spot. I think he just looks phenomenal. He has a strong workload. Pull up advanced receiving. I don't think that there are scenarios where they're not going to get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I guess just 8 targets per game so far in the year. So relative to some elite receivers, not that great, but he has 400 yards, over 400 yards already after 5 games. 91% route participation. The coach speak is pretty bullish on, not that you really need to hear it from the coaches with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but offensive coordinator John Morton did say on the 9th, I don't care what the coverage is, I'm going to call Amon-Ra St. Brown's number. He's reliable, and the quarterback knows that too. Ultimately, I think just kind of one of those type of player that you play every single week. The matchup is not amazing for Amon-Ra St. Brown. In terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed, where is it? Kansas City's allowed the 12th or 13th fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points to wide receivers. Actually, it does look like it's slightly better for receivers in the slot, which is Amon-Ra does play a fair amount in the slot. What's his slot percentage this year? 51.4% in the slot so far this year. So, kind of sneaky from that perspective. He does run a lot from the slot. It is arguably a slot funnel, sort of like it's a slightly above average matchup for slot receivers, whereas it's negative for all other receivers. I guess you can hang your hat on that if you want to. And then we can look at the coverage stuff, which does not look the best for Amon-Ra of the receivers. Where is it? Wide receiver coverage matchup. But so in terms of the actual coverage grade, it doesn't. Still, the expected fantasy points per route stands out as really strong. It is actually a slightly positive coverage grade for Amon-Ra St. Brown against the types of coverage that the Chiefs play. So I guess that is a positive there. Looks even better for Jameson Williams. Looks even better for some Chiefs receivers, but it is a slight positive there. And of course, from an expected fantasy points per route, looks awesome for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So again, I think he's probably my favorite play on the slate of the spend ups. Then you have JMO, who again looks pretty strong here. I don't know if JMO is it going to happen. Like we keep on thinking it's going to happen with JMO. He has not really broken out yet. How many years in a row are we going to think this is the year Jameson Williams is going to break out? I'm going to trust the coaches once again. But for this showdown slate, I am going to Bet on the JMO breakout once again. Only 21 targets, so just 4 targets, just over 4 targets per game so far through 5 games. He is running 90.4% of the routes. From a coverage standpoint, as you see here, he does have the best coverage grade, so he should do well against the Chiefs defense. I assume they're playing less man coverage than most at 29%. Let's see. Yeah, kind of a lower percentage of man coverage. But ultimately, yeah, looks good for JMO. And he's fairly inexpensive and not getting a ton of ownership. So all those factors, like we know that he can put up a big score, have some splash plays and pay off this $5,800 salary. The coverage, sort of looks good for JMO. He's only 5,800, 24% flex, 4% cap and ownership. I think he's a player that I'm going to have 40% of, like get above the field here. I do think he looks pretty good. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm happy for Khalif Raymond that he's playing, but it does make things more complicated in terms of how to play Khalif Raymond versus Isaac TeSlaa. Let's see. Limited practice on Friday, heading into week 6 versus the Chiefs with a neck injury. Okay, he had a neck injury. He's 2,000, not projected to get a ton of ownership. Let's see. Has a okay matchup here. Let's go. Where do we want to go? Back to the running stuff. Let's go to weekly route share report. Didn't run any routes last week, but had run 74%, 38%, 38%, 59% in week 4. And as far as I can tell, nobody was out in week 4. They were just running more of Khalif Raymond. For whatever reason, he was more involved than TeSlaa in week 4. He was out in week 5. We saw TeSlaa take on a bigger role. So my assumption is that with Khalif Raymond back, that they seem to be valuing him over TeSlaa. So I think he has that role, could get back to this 59% route participation. The coach speak that I thought was interesting was, let's see here. On October 6th, head coach Dan Campbell said, the opportunities for Isaac TeSlaa certainly go way up if Khalif Raymond can't play this week. He stepped up and handled his business when Khalif went down yesterday. That's impressive for a young guy to mentally know what his job description is for those plays. So now he's going to get more playing time. He'll be ready to go. I mean, he did say, so now he's going to get more playing time. By the way, both these coaches apparently say playtime instead of playing time, or maybe that's a coach we can extend. I don't know, but he said that Isaac TeSlaa is going to get more playing time, but he said that he after saying it would go way up if Khalif Raymond can't play. So I don't know if that means TeSlaa is going to get more even with Khalif Raymond back this week, or if he was only going to contingent on Khalif Raymond being out. But he did say he's impressive, that he knew his job description for the plays that he handled in place of Khalif Raymond. So tough to know exactly how it's going to break down between Isaac TeSlaa and Khalif Raymond. I think that they are going to negatively correlate. That doesn't mean you can't play them together, but I think if I were hand building, I'd probably be more inclined to not play Khalif Raymond or Isaac TeSlaa together. But I do think individually they both look pretty strong. If they come in at 3% for Raymond, 15% for TeSlaa, then I would just want Raymond. Now that he is active again, 2 weeks ago he was leading that committee there. Let's see what RG has it at. 6% going to Raymond, 8% to TeSlaa. So that's a little bit closer. If they come in at 6 and 8%, I would want to be above weight on both Khalif Raymond and Isaac TeSlaa. If the split was, bigger like it is here, then I would just prefer the lower owned Raymond, because I think that this is a big unknown, how the split is going to break down between Khalif Raymond and Isaac TeSlaa. The fact that he is active, to me, indicates that Raymond probably will play. Like, he's probably healthy enough that they're going to give him some playing time. Could just be in case of emergency or something, but my assumption is that they're actually going to be using Khalif Raymond here, and potentially more than TeSlaa. Again, didn't run any routes last week, but my assumption is that this is because he got hurt in that game. The coach speak sort of indicates that, like, TeSlaa is going to see more work if Khalif Raymond is out. So it sounds to me like Raymond is playing ahead of Tesla here and getting lower ownership. So I don't feel like amazing about this like I did with the Jaguar with Dammy Brown, where it was like, I feel pretty good about the fact that he is going to be running more routes. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's going to break down, but if I had to guess, I would guess that Khalif Raymond runs more routes than Isaac Tesla. I think he is their third receiver and Tesla is the fourth receiver. So if he's going to come in lower owned, I do like Khalif Raymond quite a bit here. Tesla is still like playable. It's possible he takes on a bigger workload, but and he makes some amazing catches. Maybe he catches an amazing touchdown or something. But I suspect Raymond plays more, and he's coming in lower owned. So I would rather go that way. I'd like to have more Raymond than Tesla if they come in at ownership like this. On the Chiefs side, Xavier Worthy. So in his, well, first of all, let's look at the schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to receivers for Detroit. It is the fifth best matchup for receivers against Detroit. In terms of the workload, here, I'll just read off the workloads. I think here, no, I'll bring it up. I'll bring up the advanced receiving for just the past 2 weeks. I think these are the 2 weeks you really want to look at because these are the 2 weeks that we've had Xavier Worthy healthy, along with being the 2 most recent weeks. So let me pull this up and then take a drink of water. So in 2 games, the past 2 games with Xavier Worthy back, we've seen Worthy himself running 72% route participation. Also worth noting that has moved up over time. So I should say it jumped from week 4 to week 5. Worthy jumped from 62.5% route participation to 80.4. So he's a full-time receiver now, leading the team in terms of route participation. In that game where we thought he might be limited by the ankle injury. His ankle swelled up before that game and did not limit him at all. 80.4% route participation in that game for Worthy. And then you also have, so behind Worthy, and I guess we can just look at it here. Marquise Brown, 50 and 54% route participation. Juju Smith-Schuster, 72.5, was down to 52.2% route participation. So did go decrease from week 4 to week 5 as Xavier Worthy's route participation increased. Tyquan Thornton also increased from 35 to 43.5 in those 2 games. Ultimately, Worthy, I think, looks pretty good. Not projected for a crazy high ownership number. He's probably my favorite outside of Mahomes. I like him better than Kelsey. I guess we don't really have a ton of pay up options that he's competing with, but yeah, he would be my favorite over Kelsey of the pay up options on the Chiefs outside of Mahomes. I do prioritize Amon-Ra St. Brown over Worthy, but I think Worthy is a pretty strong captain option. I think he would be probably my 4th favorite captain option after Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Patrick Mahomes. If I were to list a 4th, I think it was going to be Xavier Worthy. Like, clearly has big upside here. The workload has been pretty strong. Again, just looking at the past 2 weeks, he has 17 targets over those 2 games, even with, kind of maybe being limited in his first game back. The fact that he's up to 17 targets on 72.1% route participation in 2 games after returning from injury, including one where, again, his ankle was swelling up. There was a chance he wasn't going to play. Ultimately, it seems like they're treating him like their alpha. So I think Worthy looks like a really strong play here. I probably want to be, I don't know, right with the field here, I guess, at 50%. I guess I don't feel that strongly that I need to be like well over here. Maybe slightly above 50% total exposure to Xavier Worthy, but I think 13% at captain, I have no issue with that. I wouldn't mind getting above weight on that. 37% at flex seems fine to me. Also, I think I'd be more inclined to be above weight than underweight on 50% Xavier Worthy. So that's another spot that my Jared Goff exposure could go to. Marquise Brown, 5,400, 29% flex, 3% captain ownership. Again, just 50 and 54. He's one that I was not super excited to play in that last game, but I believe he was targeted a fair amount. 13 targets now, so not running a ton of routes, but in those 2 games, the past 2 games, 6.5 targets per game. I also want to let's pull up the coverage matrix, because we do have some some good coverage grades here. Marquise Brown not being one of them, but the workload's pretty good there. Tyquan Thornton is 4,400. Again, he did see an increase in route participation from 35% to 43.5%. He was pretty involved early in that game. And then I think later in the game, it was Juju Smith-Schuster. So I don't really know what happened where they were kind of seeming like splitting halves in terms of their involvement with the offense, at least is my recollection from that game. But he saw an increase in route participation again over the past 2 weeks. Tyquan Thornton, 6 targets, 39.5% total route participation. He's a little bit expensive at 4,400. But then the coverage grade. So Juju Smith-Schuster has the 10th best of all receivers this week. Has the 10th best coverage grade in this matchup. Tyquan Thornton right behind him with the 11th best coverage grade of all pass catchers on the week. So it looks really strong for Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton as far as the coverage grades go, but I don't really know if that's really going to lead to any increase in workload for either of them. So I don't know to what extent we care about that. If they're running 50 and 40% of the routes, like does that probably outweighs any kind of great coverage grade. Maybe Andy Reid plays them more because they excel in this type of matchup. But ultimately, it comes down to ownership. Okay, so now Tyquan Thornton here at 6% ownership. I would like that quite a bit. I've come into this thinking I was going to love Juju Smith-Schuster. Run the Sims has him at 34% total ownership. That is much higher than the 18% that Roto Grinders is projecting him for. And how much at captain? 3% at captain. So would love him at 21% total ownership. I think is a pretty strong bet for Juju Smith-Schuster. If he comes in above 30%, I think that's about right. He's only 2,800, so the price is really nice for Juju Smith-Schuster. I think I'd ultimately like to play around 30 to 35% Juju, and then hope that the field plays it far different from that one direction or the other, because I think that seems like about efficient ownership for Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, at this price tag. Tyquan Thornton, he's expensive, 4,400. He's looked pretty good. So I think that they could just increase his playing time because he has looked like a really good receiver when he's been out there for the Chiefs. They move things around quite a bit. Wouldn't be that surprising if Tyquan Thornton suddenly has a bigger workload here, just because he's been pretty solid when he's seen playing time. The $4,400 price tag, doesn't look great at 40% route participation, but maybe it jumps. And the 6% ownership is pretty enticing. That's a number that I would want to have. I would want to be above the field on 6% for Tyquan Thornton. So ultimately, Xavier Worthy looks great. Marquise Brown looks fine, I guess. I'm not super enthusiastic about 32% for 5,400 Marquise Brown, but it looks okay to me. I would probably rank them in terms of my order of interest. If these ownerships were correct, then I would say Xavier Worthy followed by Tyquan Thornton, then Juju, then Marquise Brown. Juju looks like he's getting lesser ownership elsewhere. If it's kind of middling, it'd probably be Juju number 2 for me, followed by maybe still Tyquan Thornton, just because 6% is really low. So for a large field GPP, that's in. I wouldn't love it for like anything. It's obviously not like a cashy play, but for a large field GPP, yeah, 13% projected ownership, so much higher here. It's tough because this is all so ownership dependent. So when the ownership is so like varied, kind of hard to get a read on what the actual ownership is going to be and what to prioritize here. But just based on like opportunities, I think it's Xavier Worthy number 1, probably Hollywood number 2, followed by Juju, and then Tyquan Thornton is the most likely order in terms of opportunities. And then we have Juju and Tyquan in strong matchups. So ultimately, I'm going to have a lot of Xavier Worthy. I'll be double digits Tyquan Thornton. I want to have like 30% Juju Smith-Schuster, 25 to 35% Marquise Brown. Not all that far off from these ownership numbers. Let me check in on chat. Any questions, etc. That's tough. I thought I had takes there, and then the ownership is so different that I'm like, I guess relative to these ownership numbers, it's different from what I had seen earlier. All right. All right, dropping dimes, encouraging me to run some sims. So I'm going to run a set of sims because again, the first set of sims, I just go to settings, change the number of lineups I'm running. I'll just do 15,000, size of contest field 15K, 10,000 simulations. Going to do the shady portfolio diversifier, 181 lineups. Thank you for the reminder to do this. I'm going to click the SimRunner Pro button. While that's running, I'll talk about the tight ends, and I guess I'll refer to Roto Grinders projected ownership here since I'm running the Sims. They have Travis Kelce, 8,000 projected for 19% flex ownership. Actually, sorry, I do the Detroit side first. So let me start with Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta at captain. Where is he? 5% projected captain ownership for Sam Laporta. 16% projected flex ownership. He's 7,600. So he's right around the same price as David Montgomery, a little bit more expensive than David Montgomery and getting more ownership than David Montgomery. In terms of the matchup, schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to tight ends. It's the third worst matchup for tight ends against Kansas City. If we look at the coverage grade, not great for Sam Laporta. So not really seeing any reason to love Sam Laporta here. That doesn't mean he can't have a big game. But I think maybe getting a little bit juiced here because he just had a big game against Cincinnati, who every tight end has big games against. So I'm not like, he's not my favorite pay up option. I think I prefer David Montgomery straight up over Sam Laporta. Again, he could score a touchdown and have 5 catches. But I probably want to be close to the field. If the field's getting like 21% Laporta, that seems okay to me. I would rather play Montgomery in more lineups. We've got Xavier Worthy, just 1,400 more expensive. Yeah, not like an amazing play. I think I will prefer him over Travis Kelce. So I'll say that he is cheaper than Travis Kelce and getting lesser ownership than Travis Kelce. Looking at schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to tight ends. Where are we? Where is Kansas City here? Oh, there it is. So it's a bottom 11 or so matchup for tight ends against Detroit. Interestingly, strong matchup for tight ends in the split, which I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that is, how did Scott describe this to me? I forget. Maybe that's like the slot, like lining up in the slot, or is that inline? Maybe somebody else can tell me. I think one of them is like more similar to lining up in the slot. I forget the terminology here. But it's ultimately it's a slightly negative matchup overall for tight ends against Detroit. Travis Kelce just doesn't have like an awesome workload anymore. 13 targets over the past 2 games, so 6.5 per game, 72.1% route participation. In terms of the coverage grade for Travis Kelce, it's an above average one. So he's actually got a positive coverage grade. So I guess we do have more positives for Travis Kelce than Sam Laporta. And looking like the coverage stuff, like there are some reasons to like Travis Kelce and actually still fairly involved in the passing game. I think I believe in the talent of Sam Laporta at this point in time more than Travis Kelce. So I think I slightly prefer at lower ownership and a lower price tag, slightly prefer Sam Laporta over Travis Kelce. I don't have any like super strong takes. I think both of them are fine at around like 20% total ownership. That's about where I'd like to be on Kelce and Laporta. And then other tight ends, let's see. Brock Wright, 1,600. I think kind of the classic backup tight end. I don't think that we have any like great reason to be enthusiastic about Brock Wright. Just kind of hoping for a touchdown there. Yeah, 32% route participation. That was in that game without Khalif Raymond, though. So I would expect it to come back down with Khalif Raymond back. Ross Dwelly not really running routes. So I think there's no enthusiasm for the backup tight ends. They're kind of just hoping for a touchdown types. I do think that we have a slightly better situation with Noah Gray, up to 41% route participation. Other than week 4, where he was at 30% route participation, it's been 40% or more in 3 of the past 4 games for Noah Gray. So he looks obviously better than Brock Wright. Going to get some ownership. The price tag 1,200, 10% projected ownership. I probably want to be above weight on that number. Like, we don't have many great options that are cheap. So I think Noah Gray at 1,200 actually looks like a pretty strong play here. But not super into any other backup tight end. So it's probably the ranking for me would be Sam Laporta, then Travis Kelce, then Noah Gray. And honestly, I'll be above weight on Noah Gray, about with the field on Kelce and Laporta. Strong match. I mean, coverage grade is pretty good for Noah Gray also. All right. There's some positives. All right, my sims have run already, so it worked fast for me when I ran it, at least. We'll take a look at my exposures, but first let's look at. Let me go back to defensive kickers. Actually, I'll download this to make sure I get some lineups in. That's the first thing I'll do. So I'll just download these lineups, make sure I have something in, because I don't currently have any. And then I'll continue on breaking down defenses and kickers. Somebody asked for a brief look at FanDuel. I'll do that as well. We have 2 games tomorrow for Monday Night Football, by the way. So I will be breaking that down with Adam around 12:30 or so Eastern. And then I'll be back again at some point in the afternoon. I don't actually know when lock is for Monday Night Football, but I'll be breaking down those slates as well tomorrow. All right, so top lineup. Actually, sorry, we'll get back to this. Let me finish off talking about the different defenses and kickers. I think I've covered the tight ends well enough. Defenses and kickers, we've got Jake Bates, 5,200, 13% ownership. Looks awesome. Yeah, give me all the Jake Bates at 13%. I'd want, double that. Lions, 3,800, 4%. I'd want double that probably. I think both look pretty good. Like, don't love the matchup with Kansas City, obviously, but with the chaos of football, I'll take a $3,800 defense at 4% projected ownership. Harrison Butker, 17-1, looks about right to me. Kansas City, again, I'll take over. Give me double 5% at 3,400. That looks really good to me. This is in Kansas City. So yeah, I think defensive kickers in general, I want to be probably above weight to all of them at these numbers, other than maybe Butker at 18% seems about right. All right, I'll take a look at FanDuel. Let me check in on questions. Hey, it's good to be heavy on Dowdle today. Who's our favorite captain this slate? So many options. Yeah, I full disclosure, I hate Chiefs Showdown slates. I feel like it's so hard to come up with great plays, because everything changes so much. Like, first of all, they have so many options to go to, and it changes every single game. So it's like, oh, I think I see a trend here, but it's like, nope, that was not a trend. That was just what happened in that game. And then this game, the guy who got 30% route participation last game got 70%, and it just seems like things move so quickly with the Chiefs. At least the Lions give you a little bit more consistency. Like, who the options are on the Lions. Typically, Chiefs is just all over the place, and they're good. So like, it really matters to get it right. So these are kind of my least favorite showdown slates, and we get a lot of them. But we do our best with the Chiefs Showdown slates, and I've made money on them before. So I guess I should like them better than I do. Favorite captain for me is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think is probably my favorite captain. Justin Watson, that was my biggest Chiefs Showdown win. Was, I think I won 90,000 or so on Justin Watson's first good game. Yes, Khalif Raymond, we're into. I'm into. I guess you guys don't have to tail me on that, but looks good to me. Just looking at it, like, hey, he might be the third receiver here, and is not being treated like the third receiver. Lou Dog says Brock Wright 2 touchdowns. That's a take. Marco says you're in on Brashard Smith again. I think I'm in on, to some extent I'm in on Brashard Smith again now. All right. Yes, please do. Please do remember to hit the like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. All right. Let's get to it. Let's keep moving. Questions and lineups. I have already. I would not play Rashee Rice. He's inactive this week. I think he returns next week, though. Right? Yeah, I think he returns next week. All right. Questions, lineups. I've already run the lineup, so let's go over. Oh no, somebody asked me to do FanDuel. I do like to just briefly hit on FanDuel. Let's go quickly look at ownerships and price tags on FanDuel. See what looks good. All right. So first of all, at MVP, I mean, Mahomes 22%, a little bit over owned to me. I do like Amon-Ra 12% better. I like Xavier Worthy kind of stands out to me just from the price tag and the ownership. Like he could smash. So I think Xavier Worthy, my favorite MVP option on FanDuel. Followed by, Amon-Ra St. Brown looks pretty good at 12%, Gibbs at 15%. Mahomes, I think he's fine, but I would be under the field at 22%. Generally spending up at MVP. Yeah, I don't see any awesome options down here. JMO looks okay at 3.5% ownership. We know he can go off, but I don't like him as much as Xavier Worthy. What are the Chiefs running backs? So we have Kareem Hunt is 8,100 at MVP. Pacheco 11,100. Brashard Smith 4,500. Yeah, I mean Kareem Hunt. The price difference is bigger here. Maybe you could go to Kareem Hunt MVP in a lineup or two. I don't know, but I mostly like the top end. I think Worthy my favorite, followed by probably Amon-Ra and then Gibbs, and then Mahomes, Goff, whatever else you want to do. In the flex, Mahomes, Goff getting a lot of ownership. They're easier to get to in the flex where you don't have to do the salary multiplier. Both look okay to me. Worthy again looks good at 10,000 in the flex. Pretty strong option there. I mean, Gibbs, if he's going to be 16.5% owned, I would take that all day. Only 600 more than Jared Goff at much lower ownership. I would just rather have Gibbs in that case. JMO looks pretty good at 15.5% ownership. Hunt at 5,400 looks fine. Juju at 4,600, pretty good. Man, David Montgomery's expensive here. Pacheco, I guess, kind of Montgomery 1,800 more expensive than Pacheco. Both are at 10% ownership. I think they're totally fine. I wouldn't say huge priorities. Khalif Raymond again, 2,800, 6.5% ownership. Yeah, sign me up for that. I'll take that with Khalif Raymond. Fairly priced there. Noah Gray, 8% ownership at 3,400. Looks good also. So we've got some decent pay down options. I mean, Brashard Smith, yeah, at 3,000, the price looks pretty good for Brashard Smith, 9% projected ownership. Nobody's standing out to me as the very clear, this is my favorite play on FanDuel other than Xavier Worthy at MVP, I guess. J-Mode maybe is up there. I mean, Worthy at in the flex also looks really good. Juju at 4,600. But again, that's he's pretty close in price to Kareem Hunt. So I don't know that I clearly prefer him over Kareem Hunt. Pacheco more expensive. I think the pricing is a little bit more efficient here, which makes it a little bit tougher. All right, let me get back to building lineups. So we've got Wait, go back to my lineups. Here we go. Graded lineup. So these are not in the order of their EV. That's because I'm using the Shady Portfolio Optimizer. They're going to be a little bit out of the order of the EV because I'm getting the best portfolio of lineups instead of just all the top EV lineups. Getting lineups that don't cannibalize each other. Top lineup is Mahomes in the captain spot with Butker, Pacheco, Gibbs, JMO, and Xavier Worthy. Uses 49,800, so uses almost a full salary cap. That one projected for, let's see how many dupes. 12 dupes. I might cut that one out of my player. I mean, I guess just basically single stack with Worthy unless you count Pacheco. Um, yeah, I might cut out some of the top dupe lineups. Second lineup is David Montgomery in the captain spot. So that'll be unique on its own with Lions defense, Jameer Gibbs, Mahomes, Worthy, and Butker. I like that lineup. That seems like a pretty strong showdown lineup. Not predicted for any dupes. Leave 700 on the table. It's going to project fairly well. Yeah, I think that's a pretty strong lineup. Third lineup, Patrick Mahomes with Pacheco and Worthy. Again, we've got Gibbs, Lions defense, and David Montgomery. Fourth lineup, Gibbs in the captain spot with Montgomery. So we've got a lot of this, the double Lions running back, which I should say that is something that I like doing, double running back on the slate. I don't know if I go so far as triple running back on the Chiefs side, but certainly double, and I can double up any of them. But yeah, Gibbs captain, Montgomery, Lions defense, Chiefs defense, Mahomes, and Worthy. Looking at my player exposures, I'll be looking at the shady columns over here. These are my my exposures within my shady portfolio. So I'm getting to 49% Mahomes with 29% at captain, 34% Goff with 2% at captain. So I'm getting a lot less Goff, which is kind of in line with what I was, hoping for. This is maybe even less than I would like, but not by that much. Running backs getting to 49 and 13% of Gibbs, 23 and 6% of Montgomery, 25 and 3% of Pacheco, 20 and 2% of Kareem Hunt, none of Rashard Smith. I will want to force in a little bit more Rashard Smith, so maybe I'll increase his target share a bit. Wide receivers, 38 and 17% Amon-Ra St. Brown, 49 and 16% Xavier Worthy. Those both look great to me. 15 and 3% JMO, might want a little bit more there. 13% Marquise Brown, 6% Juju, I want more there. 23.2% Tyquan Thornton is fine. 5.5% Khalif Raymond, I'll increase that. None of Tesla currently. Don't think I need any of Royals, Remigio, Brownlee, or Lovett. Tight ends were at 13% and 6% Laporta, 6% Travis Kelce, 4% Noah Gray, 0.6% Brock Wright. They're not the biggest priorities, but I think I'd like a little bit more of like Brock Wright, Noah Gray, maybe even Kelce and Laporta. Like Kelce, this is pretty light. Laporta, that's probably right around where I want to be. All right, I'm getting way too much Harrison Butker, so I can cut back on Butker and get more of other players. I think I'm going to try to run the Sims one more time and then filter because there are players I want to get more of, and it's harder to get more. But Butker, I'm at 62%, 0.6% at captain, 5% Bates, none at captain. And the defenses were at 34% Lions, 2% at captain, 25% Chiefs, 1% at captain. So I am going to adjust the inputs and run the Sims before I get going. Let me check in on comments, though. All right. Going back to Brashard. I know Anthony just did it. Captain Brashard, and it almost worked. Sean, you've already made me crack up. Just not on stream. Not going to happen today. I'm too tired to crack up today. These Sunday streams are tough for me. Juju captain, I agree, looks pretty good to me. Deke says I solo binked first and second for Chiefs Chargers. I think that was the same. That was the Justin Watson game, right? Where I think I binked on FanDuel. Yeah, I'm probably about the same. Like just even lifetime after that. Oh, second touchdown of the year for Brock Wright. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Thornton captain for all the money. Don't hate that. Favorite captain. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Probably followed by Jameer Gibbs. I do like Xavier Worthy also. I want to mix him in also. So I have those four are my favorite Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 1, and then it's kind of whoever you want, number 2 between Jahmyr Gibbs, Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy, I think all look pretty awesome. I don't hate JMO. JMO also cheap, like, makes things easier if you have him at captain. Sorry, just chilling asking for a even money parlay. I wish I haven't looked at anything, so I don't even know what the numbers are. Yes, you can play Pacheco and Smith together for sure. Appreciate it, Sean. Favorite type of build? I wouldn't say that I typically do. Usually 5-1s go a little bit under-owned, especially 5-1s where it's the underdog. Montgomery captain, yeah, don't hate that. Get rid of the bots. All right, I'm going to run another set of sims. I've got 18 minutes here, so let me see what I can do. I was getting a fair amount of Gibbs, Montgomery already. Was I getting to enough JMO? I definitely want more Khalif Raymond. Let me look. I want more Khalif Raymond. I think I want more JMO also. All right. How am I going to do this? I wouldn't mind getting to more Goff as well. Probably getting rid of the kickers will also, like, moving down how much I'm getting of the kickers will help a bit. Do I want to remove the rush rate down? I do. I like, let's see. Kind of like the extent that I'm getting to Gibbs and Montgomery, so I don't really want to move the rush rate down. This is where it's like I'm not doing this the way that you really should be, but I'm like looking for, all right, who can I just remove from my player pool and get to more of the players that I actually want? And there's really nobody that I want to remove from my player pool on the Lions side. I like how much I'm getting Gibbs. I could remove some of Goff's. So here's what I'm gonna remove: Goff's rushing market share. I should still get a bunch because I already moved up the overall points scored. He's getting all the passing work. So I'll move that to Montgomery and Gibbs. And then remove some of their receiving market share and move it to some receivers. See, this is totally not the way you should be doing things, but I'm just trying to get to the players I want right now. So I'm going to move some of that to Khalif Raymond. 8 or 9%. 9% might be too high. Start with 8. Give some more to Sam Laporta. All right, we'll try that. And then on the Chiefs side, I did want more of at least Brashard Smith. You're not getting any Brashard Smith. I want some there. Pretty satisfied with my Pacheco and Hunt, I think. And then the wide receivers. Get into a fair amount of Tyquan Thornton. I think I want more Juju. Interesting. Okay. So let me see. Receivers for Kansas City. I think I'd be okay getting rid of any Tunyon, and Remigio, and even Jalen Royals, I think. I'm going to move that to Juju. Need to smart adjust that. Let's see here. I'm not getting into any Kelsey currently, so I want to get to a little bit of Kelsey. Let's see here. And I'm going to remove some of Mahomes' rushing market share, move that to running backs, and move some of their receiving market share. So I move Mahomes down to a 14% rushing market share. Did that move his? Okay, it is working. So I moved 7% off Mahomes. Give some of that to Rashard Smith. Give him 3% more. Pacheco 2% more. Hunt 2% more. Remove 1% receiving market share from Hunt. 1% from Pacheco. Maybe I'll keep Pacheco. Move Rashard Smith up. All right. I'm just going to normalize. We'll see what that does. All right. And then I'm just going to run it. And maybe I'm just going to, before I even do it, I'm going to move Butker's projection down to 9. All right. Now we'll try. Number of lineups, 10,000, probably sufficient. Dan, well done. Well done handling the bots. Appreciate you. All right, we are running the Sims. Yeah, please do like the video. Nice shout out there, Dan. We'd like to get to 100 if we can. We're pretty close. Yeah, both quarterbacks, definitely. You can play both quarterbacks together. If you can fit them. Sean, just being a boomer who sends voice messages in a Discord makes me laugh. Just on its own, that gives me a chuckle. Nobody else is sending voice messages, so good for you. JMO captain with no golf, definitely you can do that. I like it less so than like Amon-Ra St. Brown captain with no golf, because like JMO, the way he gets there is usually going to be big plays that are generally going to be touchdowns where Goff gets there too, but certainly possible for like he hits a 100-yard bonus, scores 1 touchdown, and that's like the only touchdown that Goff throws. Or he can have rushing touchdowns. Like there are ways for JMO to hit without bringing along Goff for sure. Favorite $4,700 play, DraftKings last man, can't be Smith because he's a captain. Let me look. 4,600. I'm looking on another screen since the Sims are running. Or 4,700 or less, I think you said. Probably Pacheco. Yeah, I'd go with Pacheco. All right, calculating payouts. Next thing, going to send it to Shady Advice to run some numbers in his head, spit some lineups back at me. We're getting there. I'm just going to keep it on this screen. I like that, Sean. So it's only equal. Since you hear me, I should be able to hear you. That's true. Why don't more people send me voice messages on Discord? You do get to hear me every day, literally every day of the NFL season. So far, I have taken one day off because we moved a Tuesday show to Wednesday on my Mathology stream. Otherwise, I've been live every day other than last Monday also, where I still recorded a video. Good luck to you as well, JB. Where did this damn fruit fly or something come from? All right, diversifying payouts. We're getting there. Then after this, I'll go ahead and just filter with the new tools. Oh, it's Jameson. Long-time listener. Good to see you, Jameson. All right, diversifying still. Cheers, Sean. All right, there we go. We got some lineups. Did I do something to get to a lot more Sam Laporta? Because I've got a lot. Sam Laporta captain my first 5 lineups here. I guess I gave him a little bit more work. I don't know if let's see how much I gave him, but top lineup now uses the full $50,000 salary. Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Lions defense, Gibbs, Goff, Chiefs. Interesting. Second lineup, Laporta, Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Goff, Raymond, Mahomes naked. All right, I want to look at my player exposures. All right, so I cut back on Mahomes quite a bit, which I guess I removed some of his rushing work. I don't love that I'm getting to way more Goff than Mahomes now. I'm at 39% and 9% at captain for Mahomes. Goff, I'm at 58% and 6%. So it's kind of the inverse of what I would like it to be, but I might accept it depending on what else looks like here. 50% Gibbs with 15% at captain. I like Gibbs quite a bit, so that's fine. 35 and 4% Pacheco. 12 and 1% Kareem Hunt. That's maybe more of a stand than I want to take. Down to just 4 and 2% Dave Montgomery, 6% Rashard Smith. Wide receivers were at 50 and 27% Amon-Ra. I do love Amon-Ra. This is still maybe more than I would like it to be. Worthy, 32 and 8%. J-Mo, 30 and 4. Juju, 20 and 1. Hollywood Brown, just 3%. That scares me a bit. 17 and 0 for Tyquan Thornton. Looks good. 25 and 0 for Khalif Raymond. Only 1% Isaac Tesla. Maybe more of a stand than I want to take between those two, because I think both are, like, I'd like to have more Raymond, but not quite to that extent. Tight end, we're at 37 and 21% Laporta. So I guess I gave Laporta way too much of a target share there. 4% Kelsey, 4% Gray. Kickers, 28% Butker, 6% Jake Bates. Would like more more Jake Bates there. 24% Lions, 14 and 1% Chiefs. So let me see if I can quickly filter this out. So let's go graded lineups, advanced filters. I'm going to do max flex for Goff of 40%. Max captain of Goff, 8%. And then Laporta, I'm also going to do a max of, let's see, 25% flex and 5% captain. And we'll see what this gives me. I'm going to now re-optimize the portfolio. We'll see if I have even time to do this, but I'm going to try. 0 Goff, 0 Hunt. All right, that's a stand. Heavy Worthy and Smith. Love that. All right, I think I sent too many lineups back to Shady. I sent 6,000 back. But that's fine. I think I have time. I think typically Brian would tell me that I should have just sent 1 or 2,000 back for the portfolio optimizer, because you don't really need to send back the like less positive EV lineups. It's not going to like those anyway. Still getting used to the new features here. All right, we got a couple minutes. We're going to cut it close. If we get to 7:19 Central, I might just try to see if I can get the lineups from the last set. Got to be close. Unless it's too many people doing this at once. It's the trouble with doing this at the end of my shows. It's crunch time. All right, we're at 7:19. I think I'm just going to download 181 lineups now, if I can. So I'm going to have a lot of Laporta, a lot of Goff, but also some more of the players that I really like Khalif Raymond. All right, so we got those in. All right, just in time. Did get in. Got in that last batch. Did not get the filtering done. Didn't give myself enough time there, but hopefully it works out. Hopefully, after I said I didn't like Goff and Laporta that much, I get more. Maybe hopefully I do a little bit better, or just the lineups that were the players that I like do end up doing the best. Appreciate all of you for hanging out, chatting here. I always do take it down to the buzzer. Yeah, I like to take it down. Get a little momentum, get the heart going a little bit at the end of the show. But appreciate all of you. Please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll be back with Adam tomorrow in the afternoon, early afternoon. I'll be back again in the evening to break down the 2-game slate and the showdown slates as well. So come back for that if you're interested. Thanks, guys. And also, if you're not in the Flaniverse Discord, link in the description. That is free to join. Feel free to join. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later and good luck tonight.